Y'all think people really want to go to Tuscaloosa? Tuscaloosa ain't cool.
I was getting ready to bring that up.
To Tuscaloosa.
I was getting ready to bring that up.
Saban.
I was getting ready to bring that up.
7 wins.
So back to Mike DeBoer, Dennis Francione, and Mike Shula. Back to them coaches?
Yep,
That's
back
what we
to
doing?
them. Back to them. Brody Croyle at quarterback.
That's bad. That's bad.
Sorry.
I don't know.
Whew, the Alabama and T-Town hate from an LSU grad. Color me shocked. I would say, though, someone should show Ryan Clark that these recruiting rankings exist, but the Alabama's recent rise has been hard to miss. It has been the storyline over the weekend. Kalen DeBoer's squad now boasts the number 2 class in the country with the highest average per player ranking. So let's bring in our friend Brett Greenberg from Bama 24/7 to find out just what's going on. And Brett, let's start here. How has Kalen DeBoer been able to hold up these Alabama recruiting standards that Nick Saban set?
Yeah, I think it kind of starts with what a lot of recruits tell me at the beginning when he was first hired. When Kalen DeBoer came into that facility and these top prospects came into the facility for these visits, he was acting like Kalen DeBoer. He wasn't acting like Nick Saban. And a lot of these family members and a lot of these recruits really appreciated that. But at the same time, he still carried a lot of the same values and traditions that made Nick Saban who he was and made Alabama so successful. So for starters, I think that's been a very big thing, and the continued momentum in the recruiting. And then one thing that I've also been pointed out to a lot is a lot of these current players and every single coach is hitting you up if you're a recruit, no matter what position you are. You're hearing from Ryan Williams, you're hearing from Jalen Milroe, you're hearing from older guys that are, have one more year and probably going to the NFL, but they care about this program. And these younger players that are 2025, 2026, and these family members are really, really taking notice of that. And there's certainly a lot of momentum in Tuscaloosa, and Blair kind of hit on the top of the show. It's like 105 degrees in July in Tuscaloosa, but it's cold in the facility.
Brett, Ty Haywood was one of those big commitments for the Tide recently. How do you see him fitting into what the Tide want to do up front?
Yeah, I mean, for starters, he's kind of like that final missing piece to an incredible offensive line class, if you will. The name I keep hearing in comparisons and to him talking to 247 scouting experts across the network is a guy named Alex Leatherwood, who Alabama fans are very, very familiar with, had a spectacular college career, made it to the NFL, played a couple of years for the Raiders as well. But this guy's 6'5", 285. You can see on the film here, moves like he's not 6'5", 285 pounds, extremely athletic. And again, kind of just that final piece in that 5th offensive line commit to this class. Again, he's a guy that Alabama doesn't necessarily need to have ready day one. Alabama's got a very loaded room that they're adding this guy to, and he can learn from guys like Caden Proctor. So it's a perfect fit and another big piece to the number 2 class.
Brett, the only thing better than getting a commitment from a 5-star is getting 2, and that was the case for Alabama over the weekend. Also landing wide receiver Caleb Cunningham. What do you think of this add to the Tide's offense?
Yeah, you can't really overstate how big of an add this is. This is kind of maybe Jamarcus Shepard's first big fish, if you will, at that position. We've heard for months and months, and I've heard from conversations just how good of a person he is, how good of a recruiter he is, and how good of a coach he is. And Caleb to the fold, and you can see it on the tape here. He can kind of do it all. He can line up on the outside, line up on the inside. He's very versatile. He's gonna go get any 50-50 ball over anybody. Watching his basketball film, and I know a lot of the 247 guys love these multi-sport athletes. He's averaging nearly a double-double over his career over 3 seasons. He's got one of the best dunk tape highlights in high school right now. So you're adding a superb athlete, and you're adding, the number 1 player in the state of Mississippi to an offense that features Keelan Russell, newly fresh 5-star. So this offense is, this class was kind of defensive heavy, but now you're picking up some very key targets on offense.
Brett, I alluded to it earlier in the show. Alabama was number 8 heading into the month of June, which has obviously turned the tide there in Tuscaloosa. They are number 2 right now, right behind Ohio State, with a lot of room and a lot of runway for them to add pieces. Who else is on Alabama's list?
Yeah, I think number 1, kind of top priority for a lot of Alabama fans, and for this staff is A.K. Deere, #1 running back in the country, decommitted from Ole Miss, I believe, June 28th. This is a guy that Alabama has always been high on, even with Nick Saban. This is a guy who told me that Robert Gillespie, the running back coach over in Tuscaloosa, if he wasn't retained, the Crimson Tide would have been out of it. He ends up committing to Ole Miss kind of unexpectedly in the spring. Alabama gets him for an official visit down in June, and that seemed to be very, very good weekend. And, you see on social media kind of just the want for him. And that's a guy I'm certainly kind of following pretty closely. And another guy I'm also talking about, you add one 5-star receiver in Caleb Cunningham. Alabama would certainly like to add another is in Khalil Lockett out of Texas, who's set to commit on August 7th.
All right, before we let you go, just sticking with the theme of the day, as we're calling it, with the new college football 25 video game coming out, which Alabama players are you most excited to play with on that game?
I'm not going to surprise anybody here with most of them. Jalen Milroe, for sure, just with his quarterback, unlocking that Kalen DeBoer offense seems to be, you see it right there, kind of his read option ability. Another guy is Kendrick Law, kind of that Swiss Army knife, kind of use that joystick. And then another guy that people are not going to be surprised with me saying is Ryan Williams. I think a lot of people in our network will probably be excited to play with him as well. Can do it all, can power return, kick return. You've seen the highlights. I was just looking on Instagram, he was already posting a story of him scoring over another team in Tuscaloosa. So these kids are having a lot of fun already. Blair looks like he's going to have a lot of fun when we wrap this up as well. So it's an exciting time in college football for sure.
Man, I didn't even think about the players. I'm sure they've all been posting pictures and videos, the ones that splurged for the early release. Or they got a copy of the game, right? So they're good.
I would think so.
I would think so, yes. I think that was part of the deal in giving their name, image, and likeness. So happy that this game exists. So happy that you're able to be on our show today to talk about all the fun things happening at Alabama. Thank you so much. You can, of course, read more of his work at Bama247.com. The crew is also down in Dallas for SEC Media Days, so follow along for more coverage at Bama247.com.